I'm Suzanne Sabilla. I'm the owner of Sabilla and Associates, which is the premier leadership and employee development company. Overcome obstacles, reframe your reality, love life, and have growth goals. Change and shift your energy. Pivot. Hi, I'm Suzanne Sabilla, your host of Pivot Now, where we bring on interesting, exciting, and dynamic guests who will share with us their tips, tricks, and life and business hacks to help you pivot in your life. I am so excited to bring this guest on our show. She's absolutely amazing. You gotta watch it. You gotta watch our show all the way to the end, So she is dubbed by her clients as, get this, the professor of happiness and joy. How great is that? I love that title. She's also a mindset strategist and a well-known author, and she's also an award-winning singer and songwriter. Absolutely amazing. Welcome to our show, Carrie Rowan. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Woo! Let's go. Let's go. We got the hearts. We got the claps. We got the smiles. We're on.
Woo! Thank you. Woo, I love your energy, Suzanne. Thank you so much for having me on today. This is amazing. I am so honored to be here with you today.
Well, I'm so glad that you're here on the show. So fantastic to have you on the show. I was actually on Carrie's show, everyone. Last week?
Yeah.
So she has
you
a
rocked it.
Show. She has a podcast show, Looking for the Good. And you get 50,000 downloads?
I have.
Listeners?
Well, in radio, right? It's a radio show, so we talk listeners. I am just shy of 50,000 listeners in a very short period of time. It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh my God, that's on fire. Woo! That's great. I love it. I love it so much.
Thank you.
We want to know your backstory and how you pivoted in your life or business.
Well,
so tell us.
I love that. I love talking about that because it's such a contrast. I came out of college and went right into corporate America. And, I went through this intern program where they showed me everything about the company and I loved it. I fell in love with the company. I knew how it worked inside and out. And then I was in professional sales and, I climbed that ladder and got to the top of where I thought I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. And it was a lot of hard work. It's not easy. And especially being a woman in a male dominated industry, I really had to work hard to climb up that ladder. But I got to the top. I had 8 direct reports reporting to me. And I looked around and I was like, is this all there is? I felt like, you know how you feel that stuck feeling, like you just know deep inside you that there's something bigger that you're meant for.
Yes.
So I jumped off that ladder and I landed gently on my piano bench and I followed my dream to be a singer and a songwriter. And these were all my passions that I did as a young kid. And that's what I teach. That's what I teach my clients today is to go back. If you're stuck in your life, go back and look at what you did as a kid. Because there's answers.
Cool. I love that. I love that about going back to what you did as a kid. In fact, I'm in this program that that's one of the things that we do is I'm going to show this to our audience. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a picture of what I was like, back. This is I was 11 years old, right?
So cute. So cute.
Getting your, so to speak, inner child back, right?
Because I have a picture of myself.
Yeah, when we were kids, we were so, playful, spontaneous. We brought in the joy. And then something happens. I don't know, when we get to be adults, it's like we have the responsibilities. And sometimes it gets to be kind of wow, right? And so I love what you do about that. You're called the professor of joy and happiness. So tell us more about that. How did you get to be like that?
Well, I was, it's funny because we were just talking about steering people back to what they did. And I loved what I did for a long time in the corporate world, but I just knew there was a piece of myself that wasn't being expressed. And that was my creative side. You could be so creative. I mean, people would come up to me all the time and ask me to write their letters. So I was continually using those skills to some degree. but it's going back to what you did, just like you said, innately. What did you do innately as a kid?
Mm.
And I could show you a very similar picture right here on my wall with me sitting with a guitar. And that's what I did as a kid. I don't know why I did that. I would put on shows. I would get all my family. I have from a big family of 5 kids, and I dress up my sisters. And then we moved to this big neighborhood, and oh, my talent pool just increased. So I'd get all the kids in the neighborhood, and they would
Uh-huh.
come to my house, and we would practice. And I would teach them the dance moves, and I would show them the songs. I remember I was John Travolta one time in a production of Grease.
That's great. I love it.
And my neighbor she was this cute little blonde thing with the hair. I'm like, oh, you have to be Sandy. So she was Sandy, and
I love
I
it.
was Danny. And so
Uh-huh.
this is just what I did. I say, I tell people, anybody who would stop to watch me, I would just perform for them. So I was a performer deep inside, which kind of sales is kind of that, you take all
Yeah,
your
yeah.
information, you gather it, you show them why your product's going to help their needs, but it's not nearly as exciting as performing on a stage, of course.
Yeah, that's so great. I mean, I think we have a similar background in terms of like having these parties, you know. I remember inviting the dogs in our neighborhood and dressing up the dogs, you know.
I
And
love
people were
it.
like, what? Yeah, we dress up the dogs, you know, in the neighborhood, and then we, you know, have a talent show for them, you know.
Oh, I love it. That's
That
so
was so great.
cute.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So it is important to like bring back that childhood, you know, joy, right? Bring back that childhood joy
Absolutely.
and happiness
Yes.
back into your life. So
Right. And just
yeah.
like you said, Suzanne, it gets wrung out of us, that creativity, that joy, that innate stuff, because that's why it's so pure. We did it as kids. Nothing stopped us.
Mm,
We were unintimidated by it, and we didn't care. We didn't care what other people thought about us. We just did what came naturally. And so, yeah, then it socialized out of us, I'd like to say.
yeah, this is true. So how did you overcome any obstacles in your life in terms of when you did the pivot?
Oh, that was a hard pivot because, as you can see, they're too contrasting, and everybody else around me was not that supportive, except for the people closest to me. But people they were confused. They were like, "Wait, you're giving up that career? What? All the accolades, the trips you want, you
Mm,
get the car and the clothes, and you're just gonna walk?" They just couldn't wrap their minds around that. Most people don't ever do that, right?
mm-hmm. So
Um,
true.
they just don't. And I remember being at my wedding, and the videographer was there, and I had recorded a song for my husband. Now, nobody in my corporate world really knew this other creative side of me. And so I played this song that I had recorded as a surprise, and people were coming up to me like, "What? You sing? I didn't know you sing. What?" And we have a video of my husband sticking his face in the camera and saying, "She's quitting her job on Monday.
Oh, really?
She's going to be a singer."
Oh, wow. That's great. I love
And a
it.
year later, that ended up coming true.
Wow. So
So
then what you ended up tell us more. I mean, so
so
then
the
what you ended up
yeah,
performing
sure.
on
So
stage and then what
you asked
happened?
me about
Yeah.
the obstacle. The obstacle,
Yeah.
the hard part about that is that you can take all the things that you learn and all your experiences with you, which is the great part. Now you got to learn how to apply them to this new thing, because it was a whole new world, right?
Mm.
And I feel like it's really important to have somebody to model after, and to have a
Yes.
game plan. I like a game plan. I came into that
Mhm.
other job. I knew what the game plan was. I knew what was expected of me, and I knew how to do it. I knew if you did steps X, Y, Z, you could get there, right?
Mhm.
And as with any pivot, you got to figure out what your first moves are, and I feel like that was the biggest obstacle for me. And then you go through that little imposter syndrome, right? Like, oh gosh, I knew how to do that. Do I know how to do that? Like,
Mm.
you
So
have to,
true.
right? You have to
Yep.
parlay that belief. And that's why I said to you earlier that I think belief is the most important thing when you
Mm.
are pivoting
Yes.
or jumping into
Yes.
something new, is that belief in yourself has to be unshakable.
So true. So how did you go about forming those new beliefs or were those beliefs already in you? I mean, how did you formulate that? How did you get to where you are now?
Well, that's a great question. One of the things that I teach about, really juicing up those beliefs, if you will. We already have them, right? Well, I already had them about my other job. I had them about myself as a whole. But when we go to step into something new, we got to start small, right? I always tell people it's those small little baby steps, those small little tiny
Mm.
changes that you make. And so I like to tell people you got to get into the mind business and not so much the action. Yes, action is very important, but let's get into the mind business first. Let's figure out what's going on here. What am I telling myself? Am I telling myself that I can't make any money because when you do what you love, or am I saying
Uh-huh.
do what you love and you make money? What are those little stories that are playing inside my head because they're going to tell me a lot, right? All these things we inadvertently absorbed when we were young, even to this day, about what's possible for us. I think step one is getting rid of all that, going in there and finding out, okay, what are my hangups? What do I believe about entrepreneurs? Do I think I need to be successful and work for a company? Like, what are these hidden stories? So I had to go in there and find out what those were, because I felt a little lost in the beginning because I didn't have a boss. I didn't have anybody else to tell me what to do. I had to figure it all out on my own.
So important. I mean, I think you bring up so many excellent points about, one, finding a model, someone that has done it before and that you could model yourself after, right? That is so
Mhm.
important when you do a pivot. The other part that you mentioned that is so important, like 90% of it is really the mindset, right? Because a lot of times people focus on the actions and they're like, well, I got to do the behavior. Yeah, it's the behavior that comes with it, but before that is the mindset. So how did you go about shifting, if you will, your mindset?
Well, that's a great question. So, as I tell in my story, one thing I always loved and one thing I always did as a child, and again, I'm not sure why I did this, but I loved self-help. My parents were in Amway. Remember Amway?
Yes, I remember Amway. Yeah.
So they were Amway for a little bit of time. But the
Uh-huh.
cool thing about Amway, besides those delicious food bars they used to have, was the motivational aspect of it, right? So they would have all
Yes.
these speakers come in, and my dad would come home with these tapes, dating myself, and he'd have all these tapes of like Zig Ziglar and all these motivational speakers, right? All the greats back when in the day. Um, and Brian Tracy, like, all the original ones.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And I would take those and I would listen to those. I don't know why. I loved that stuff. I couldn't get enough of that stuff, right?
Wow, that's cool. I
It
mean,
was
to be
really
at that
cool,
age too, and to be listening to those kinds of things, right? Because I
right?
mean, I do that with our son, and cause sometimes he's like, I don't know if I want to hear all this stuff, but I know it's
Tried to do that.
absorbing,
Of
right?
course, we try to do that with our own kids. It's like the same reason I can't teach my kids how to play piano. They don't want us to
Exactly.
teach them.
Exactly. Right.
So, it was building that up. So I had a skill set there, and it was reading my first Wayne Dyer book when I was 11. So I had all that stuff
Wow.
in my head. I had that skill set because I love that. It was a passion of mine. And so it was applying it. It was like, okay, sitting down and actually saying, okay, I need to go through these stories. I need to apply these things. And how do I do that? You do it with tiny, small little action steps every day, right?
Mm,
So it's one thing to know it, as you know, Suzanne, you can know it up there in your head, but if you're not bringing
yes.
it down into your body and using it, it's
Mm-hmm.
pretty much useless. It's like going to a great seminar, being all pumped up and walking out the door and never thinking about it again or reading your notes.
So good, so good. So we're going to have more information from you. I want to hear your tips, but we're in for a commercial break.
Hi, I'm Kelly Melissa Reinhart, host of Make Mental Health Matter. Join me on Mondays at 11 a.m. and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on the Achieve TV network right here on E360 TV.
So welcome back, everyone. We're back with Carrie Rowan, and she's going to give us more tips, techniques, and life and business hacks. So we want to know from you, Carrie, give us some tips. Like on this part of the show, we call it 3, 2, 1, go. So give us 3 tips, 2 techniques, and 1 action item to move our life forward.
I will do that. So, when we're trying to build some more self belief in ourselves, right? We
Mm-hmm.
talked about managing your mindset. That's the most important thing because, as you said, 90% of everything you do is mindset. But how do you do that? And what I recommend people do is set up a non negotiable morning routine. What does that mean?
Mm,
It means it's non negotiable, not just to everybody outside of us, but to ourselves. So set up that routine that you follow every morning. And maybe for you, that means meditation or it means going for a walk in nature, something that gets you in a higher vibration, a higher emotional state, right? And everybody
mm.
has their own little thing.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I'll share with you what I do. I like to do meditation. I have these little 3x5 index cards. They're right here. And on them, I list out my aspirations, my dreams, what do I want? What are my intentions? Who do I want to be? So you're feeding your brain all this great stuff because as humans, we always need a reminder. So you do
Yes.
that every single morning. And I used to call it my vitamins. I would literally drive to work and I'd be reading my little cards. I don't recommend that as a safety tip, but I used to but I used to do that. And I would
Uh-huh.
have everything posted up around me in my little rearview mirror. I'd have my goal, rookie of the year, whatever I wanted to be. Boom, there it was. You see it, it's in your vision. You got to always remind yourself of where you want to be. So that
Love
is
it.
tip. Yeah,
Love
that's tip number
it.
1.
Yes.
Number 2 is you're trying to build this. You need to walk your talk, right? You need to do small, little, tiny things. And if you say you're going to do them, you got to follow through, because if you don't, that's what erodes our self esteem, and it erodes
Mm.
our belief in ourselves and our confidence. It can be something as small as, okay, I promise that every day I'm going to get up and be in this office, ready to go in my office working at 8 a.m. Already did my morning routine, did whatever I needed to do. I'm in here. So set something up for yourself and then stick to it. That's how you slowly build your belief in yourself. Hey, I can do this. Look, I'm doing this. Otherwise, the mind is always listening. It's keeping track, right?
Mhm.
Oh, she said she was going to do that. She didn't do that. We can't really believe her. I'm not sure you really. Then you hesitate and you really don't follow through on what you said you're going to do. And that's a strategy for not believing in yourself. So pick those little small things and follow through on them. It's that simple. And then tip number 3, I love to teach people how to trust your own wisdom, trust your own inner
Mm.
self, right? We live in this externally focused world. We're
Mhm.
always looking outside now for this applause and for this, you know, appreciation of what we're doing and approval. That we do that when it comes to big decisions too. We start asking everybody their opinion, but really, we have all the answers we need deep down inside of us. But we've got
Love
to give
it.
us
Love it.
right.
Yes.
We've got to give
Yes.
ourselves that quiet time to
Mhm.
hear, because when we ask ourselves better questions, we get better answers. But if we're not quieting down or sitting down for a moment to listen for the answers, they can fly right by us. And we're constantly doing this, but getting to know yourself a little bit better and how you make decisions. And what does it feel like in your body? What does a
Mm.
hell yes feel like in your body? And it's going to
Mhm.
feel different for you than for me. Get to know that. Get to know yourself. What does a no feel like when you ask a question? Does this resonate with me? Is this for my highest good? What does a no feel like, and where do you feel it? So that you can know the difference between your own yes and your own no. That's how we get really, really strong with our decision making, and keep practicing it. It's a practice, like yoga, like meditation. You have to practice that decision making muscle and that belief muscle, and that's how you grow it.
Love it. Oh my God. This is gold. This is fire. Oh my gosh, Carrie. I absolutely love this. This is so cool. So
Thank
cool. I love
you.
it that you talk about the morning routine. It's so important. I have a morning routine similar to what you're doing. I go for my walk and I listen to these meditations. It's like, okay, focus on what it is, your intention, focus on your breathing, because breathing helps so much, and focus on what it is you want in your life, right? And bring that into existence. Bring that into existence. I love that you talk about that. And then also shifting how you view things, right? Shifting that mindset as well. So I love that you talked about healthy habits and all. Oh, I love it. I love it so much.
Yay.
So great. So great. So those are the 3 tips. What about the techniques?
Well, I think it's really important to teach people a couple techniques that they can use, right? Because
Yeah.
shifting your mind, I have 2 techniques that I love to share with people, and they're easy. I like easy stuff. Easy stuff you can keep in your back pocket.
Love easy
Love
and
easy,
simple,
right?
right? Don't
So
get it
here's 2 quick
complicated.
right,
Keep it
here's 2
simple.
quick ways to change
Okay.
your mindset anytime you want to. Very quick ways. So, first, move your body. It sounds so easy, right? To move your body, but we forget. We are stuck here at our desk. We're in the middle of something. Have you ever noticed when like somebody comes over to your desk and says, "Hey, let's go out for a walk." You stop what you're doing, which you might have been frustrated with. You go out for a walk, you change your whole body. You're moving, you're swinging your arms, and you're realigning the energy in your body. You come
Mhm.
back to your desk, and suddenly the answer is right there in front of you. Why? Because you changed your mindset. You went outside, you changed your body, because the body really controls our emotions, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
so when we can change the body up, come back to what we were doing, the answer is our mindset. We get a fresh and clear look. Um, and that ties into with the second one, which is to change your focus. We know that what we're focused on, we get more of. And here's the
Mm.
caveat, whether we want it or not, right?
Yes,
We're
yes.
focused on all the things that are wrong, which is the way the brain is designed. So it just does that inherently. We are all wired that way.
Mhm.
So we have to retrain it. We have to bring it back. And so we have to learn how to change our focus on demand. And that's what I teach my clients. You can change your focus on demand.
I love it. Oh my gosh, that's so great. So great. I love talking about this stuff too, because it's so true, right? It change your physiology, change the way your body is.
Hmm.
Because a lot of times, I mean, I've seen that too with a lot of clients that I've worked with. It's like, oh, I just feel like I'm so sad or depressed or anxious. And then they're like in this slump mode, right? And then we'll
Hmm.
do something like, okay, well, change your state, change the way you're moving, move, right? Just
Move.
move,
Yeah. Get
move
out of
your
your
body.
seat.
And then automatically, like immediately, they're like, wow, I just feel a little bit better, right? It's just like,
It's so
wow.
true.
And then a lot of times too, when you're thinking of ideas and if you're there at your computer, a lot of times those ideas don't come because you're just sitting there, right? Thinking
Hmm.
like, I got to think of that idea. Like, I got to think of it. I got to brainstorm, right? A lot of times those ideas come when you're on a walk.
Hmm.
For me, a lot of times those ideas come when I'm in a shower. I'm taking a
Always.
shower and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to write this down. Like, okay, when I get out of the shower, I got to put that on my phone because this is a great one, right? This is a great idea. And so those ideas come not when you're sitting, a lot of times when you're just sitting there, right? But it's like moving your body. I love that. Physiology is so important. So
Absolutely.
important. Change
And I
the mind.
think people have to get a misconception about energy, right? Like just what you said, the way we hold our bodies, right? All the studies that have been done on body language and, you're going to do the Wonder Woman stance. Why? Because you're holding your body in a powerful position. It not only makes you feel confident, the study showed that your perception of you becomes more confident when you hold your body. And we've got all these power poses that we can use, right? But I
Yeah.
feel like there's a misconception about energy. And that's another thing I love teaching people is how to create energy on demand, right? Because that's
Mm.
exactly what you were doing. You got her up, you changed her energy, you walked outside. A lot of times people think we need to rest, and that's important. But sometimes it's the opposite. I keep my little trampoline outside my office door. Why? Because I go out and jump on it for 2 or 3 minutes if I need to jazz up my energy before I get on a call like this one.
That I love that. I love that with the little trampoline and just jump in there because I do that too. I mean, I don't have a trampoline, but I go in my living room area. Like I'll put on some music, just do some kind of movement and everything, get myself hyped up, get the
Yeah,
energy
dance party
going.
for one. It's on my list. It's on a tip sheet that I have.
Yeah, I love that. So we're going to find out the action item after our commercial break.
Hi, this is Ken D. Foster, the host of the Voices of Courage show. Join us live on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific, where we help you see the unseeable, know the unknowable, and do the impossible on E360 TV.
Watch Ken every Wednesday, Voices of Courage show. Welcome back, everyone. We're with Carrie Rowan, and we're talking about mindset and how to shift your mindset and also use your body in terms of changing your physiology. We also talked about the 3 tips and the 2 techniques. Now we're into one action item that will move us forward. So tell us,
Awesome.
Carrie.
I love that. So, the one action item I'm going to recommend is to get yourself noticing the stories. A lot of my work is around the stories, and that's what my book is called, Tell a New Story. So, why is that important? Because you could be telling yourself stories that you don't even realize that you're telling yourself. So, I tell all my clients go out and get a little story catcher notebook. And when you hear
Mm,
yourself telling those stories, write it down. So only when we can find those stories and acknowledge them, especially those quiet little stories that we tell inside of our head, the not so nice stories about
mm,
what's possible for us, what's capable. You can't do this. You mess everything up. All those little stories go in that notebook because when you start writing them down, you're not going to believe how many little stories you have floating around in your head that can actually stop you dead in your tracks. And here's the thing, a lot of those stories aren't even true. And they were just handed to us a long time ago by some well meaning teacher or sibling, or sometimes siblings aren't so well meaning, but you get the point. And
uh-huh.
so we start catching those stories and we can really understand what's going on in our head. And this can help to get rid of that misbelief or those doubts that are not even true so that we can step forward out into following our dreams the way that we intended to live life.
That is so great. So then what do you do with those stories? I mean, if you have these negative stories or beliefs that you're telling yourself, how do you go about shifting it to be more of a positive story?
Well, I wrote a whole book on that, but in a synopsis,
Yeah, gotta read the book, right?
in a synopsis, what you can do, okay, so like anything else, awareness is half the battle because you
Yes.
don't realize the things that you're telling me. I always tell clients to listen when you're stressed. It's harder to catch those because we're stressed. We're in our back brain. We're not thinking, Carrie said to write down my stories. But when you start to get in the habit of that, you can look at those stories and you can ask yourself, is this really true? Is it really true that I can't do anything right? Is that true? Or is that
Mm.
just something that, somebody used to say and so then I caught on to it and I started saying it? And then you make a list. You have to counteract why that's not true. Make a list of why that's not true. Well, here's a list of all the amazing things I've done in my life. So that can't possibly be true because I do get a lot of things right. I'm a great mom, I'm a great this. So start listing out the things that you're really good at. And so you're taking the opposite of what you are already saying yourself and you are just becoming aware. So once you're aware, it's like it's Hebb's law, neurons that fire together, wire together. But if you don't say it anymore, they're not wiring together anymore, right? So when you become aware of it, you'll start catching yourself and you'll no longer tell that story. It's amazing. That's why I love this work. It's so powerful. Once you start noticing, you can't go back and those stories almost change themselves.
So true. Wow. Gosh, you're just on fire. Love it. Love it. Love it so much. You're just dropping gold nuggets here. Right, Carrie? I just love it. I love it so much. Wow. Yeah, we got to take that action. So how do you go about taking action? I hear that from my clients a lot. It's like, oh, when I feel motivated, he'll say to me, when I feel motivated, I'll do the thing, right? And I always tell him, it's like, motivation doesn't come by just sitting around and feeling the motivation, right?
It's
So
so
how do
true.
you go about actually taking action?
Well, I feel like if you've gone through these steps that we've already talked about, right? When
Mm-hmm.
you get yourself in that state of mind and you make it your priority that you want to feel good, I want to feel better. I'm sick of feeling stressed. So you start doing these things, you start to gain momentum. And momentum's the
Yes.
key, right? So
Yeah.
you've got momentum. You can have momentum in the wrong direction or you can create momentum in the right direction. And when you go through those steps and you've got your mind all in balance, you're feeling better, you're moving your body, you're doing all those things that you know you need to do, momentum starts happening. And when that
Mm.
momentum happens, you want to do what's good for you. You want to continue that. You want to take inspired action. And that's what I recommend my clients take. Inspired action will get you further than just drudging through something with a bad attitude, right?
Yeah, so true. Inspired action and momentum. I love that. The
Momentum.
M word, right?
The M word is
Momentum.
huge. And when you get it, you
Yes.
got to make sure you keep moving with it. Don't stop
Yes.
doing the
Yes.
things that you started doing that made you feel good. And 'cause
Yeah.
that's what humans tend to do. So we got to override that. We got to use this mind again. Get in the mind business, not so much the action business. You fix the mind and the action just follows naturally.
Yeah, love that. Fix the mind and the actions follow. Definitely so true, right? So true. Wow. This is just so amazing. I just love talking to you. This is so cool.
You
So,
too.
so can you tell us how we can get a hold of you? How can we connect with you? Amazing, Carrie.
Well, thank you. Amazing, Suzanne. You can go to my website at Carrie Rowan, CarrieRowan. See, I'm so used to being on radio. We have to spell everything.
Yeah, so cool.
You get on my website, carrierowan.com, and you can find my podcast. If you want to learn about me, jump on my podcast. You know why? Because we do all this. We talk about people come on with their stories and they come on with their worst story, which ends up actually being their best story. So find me there. I've got seminars and classes. And if you're a corporation, I love helping employees and coming in and doing talks and seminars for them. So there's a lot of different ways you can work with me. And all of them will bring you joy. And my catchphrase is, I love to make joy the new soundtrack of your life.
Oh, wow. That is so cool. That's so cool. And your podcast is called
Look for the good.
Look for the Good. I know. And you bring people on that talk about their stories and how they've been able to shift and pivot in their life. And it's an amazing show. I mean, because I was just on your show. So
You were amazing. Yes, you
it
have
was
to
so much
tune
fun.
in.
It
You
was
have
so
to
much
hear.
fun.
Yes, you have to
Yeah.
hear Suzanne's story. She was an
Yeah.
absolute
Yeah. It was so
amazing
much
special
fun to be on
guest.
your show. And so I don't know if you can do this for us, but can you sing us a song? I don't know if you're open to doing that. I put you on
Not
the spot.
really prepared
Not
to sing a
really.
song, but
Okay.
if you want to hear my music, totally go
Yeah.
over to my website at carrierowan.com. You can hear my music. And when you listen to my show, Look for the Good, that's me singing in the beginning of my outro and my intro and my outro. So you can hear my music there. But
And
I'm honored that you would want me to just break
yeah,
in a song.
I know I kind of put you on the spot, but listen to Carrie and her show. I mean, yeah, and her music. So what kind of music do you play? I mean, what kind of, is it inspirational? What kind of?
Well, that's a great question. In my book is my music. So my book's interactive. And when I tell a story about something that happened in my life that I wish didn't happen, there's a little QR code and you can hear my songs. So my songs they're kind of folk because they all tell a story. They have a message. They're kind of folk pop in that genre. And so adult contemporary would be another thing that people classify it as. But it's music that is, calming. I have upbeat songs or, slower songs and everything in between. So I've got just a little bit of something for everybody.
That sounds great. I love it. Love it so much. Well, it was so great to have you on our show. Love it so much. And you've brought so many tips and techniques and action items to move us forward and pivot our life. I just love it. You get more hearts and more fire to you. Just absolutely great, Carrie. So
That's awesome.
great.
Thank
Woo.
you, Suzanne.
Yeah, yeah.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. And we love having you on, our audience watching every Tuesday, 10 o'clock Pacific time, 1 o'clock Eastern time. Live life abundantly. Pivot now. Change and shift your energy. Pivot